You are not weak because you were wrong. You become weak because every time you open your mouth, you turn yourself into the accused. Someone asks one question, and you answer as if you are standing in court. Someone frowns once, and you immediately rush to prove that you are not selfish, not wrong, not ungrateful, not unreasonable. Listen carefully. The more you live in self-defense mode, the more you teach the world how to push you backwards. And the thing that destroys a person's presence is not failure. It is the habit of needing other people's permission just to live in alignment with yourself. In this content, you will see 7 brutally honest truths about why people with inner strength do not explain too much. You will understand why people who talk too much are often in the weaker position. Why silence at the right moment makes manipulators lose their footing. Why there is a kind of short answer that can completely cut off the control game. And especially, point number 4 is the one most people avoid. But if you can do it, your position will completely change in every relationship. 1. The more you explain, the more you lower the value of your own decision. This is the first blow. When you have already made a decision, but still feel the need to wrap it in layers of reasons, apologies, explanations, and reassurance for other people, you are sending a very clear signal. Even you are not fully standing on your own side. A strong person is not someone who never makes mistakes. A strong person is someone who, once they have thought things through, is able to stand by that decision. A weak person is different. They may be right, but they speak as if they are begging to be spared. They choose what must be chosen, but present it as though they are hoping others will kindly allow it. That is why the same decision can sound powerful from one person and shaky from another. The difference is not in the content. The difference is in how much they trust themselves. 2. People who keep forcing you to explain usually do not want to understand you, they want to keep power over you. You need to look directly at this. Not every question comes from goodwill. Some people do not ask to understand. They ask to corner you. They ask so that you become flustered. They ask so that you begin doubting yourself. They ask to pull you into a defensive position. These are the kind of people who love watching you speak too much. Because the more you speak, the more gaps you expose. The more you explain, the more material they get to twist, pick apart, turn around, and use to exhaust you. A person who truly respects you usually only needs the essential point. A person who wants to control you is the one who needs your full psychological file for every decision. So do not be naive with every question. Some questions do not deserve a full answer. Some people do not deserve access to the deeper parts of your inner world. 3. Fear of being misunderstood is the trap that makes you talk too much. Most people do not explain because they are clear. They explain because they are afraid. Afraid of being disliked. Afraid of being judged. Afraid of being labeled cold, selfish, arrogant, disloyal, or changed. And that fear turns one simple no into a whole essay. It turns a personal choice into a committee meeting. It turns an ordinary boundary into guilt that lasts the whole day. But this is the truth you need to swallow. There is no way of living that makes everyone understand you correctly. There is no way of speaking that guarantees fairness from the listener. There is no level of explanation that is enough to silence every judgment. So if you keep living only to avoid being misunderstood, you will not live truthfully. You will live in an edited version of yourself, softened, trimmed, and cut at the edges, just to remain acceptable in the eyes of others. 4. If you want real presence, learn how to let other people be disappointed without panicking and trying to fix their feelings. This is the strongest point. A lot of people are not truly afraid of conflict. What they are really afraid of is seeing someone else unhappy because of their decision. So they rush to explain, comfort, soften, compromise, stretch things out, and bend themselves, only so the other person feels less uncomfortable. It sounds kind. But if this keeps happening again and again, it is no longer kindness. It is self-betrayal. Maturity means understanding one very cold but very real truth. Other people's emotions are not always your responsibility. You can respect them without handing your life over to their temporary feelings. You can keep a boundary without turning yourself into the guilty one. A person with presence knows how to withstand the disappointment in other people's eyes without melting immediately. Not because they are heartless, but because they understand, if you keep living so that everyone else stays comfortable, in the end you will be the only one suffocating. 5. Silence at the right moment always carries more weight than trying to argue your way to victory. An immature person is afraid of silence. They see a pause and feel danger. So the moment they are questioned, they speak to fill the gap. When someone doubts them, they pour out words. When they are cornered, they speak faster. And the more they speak, the more they dilute their own energy. A grounded person does the opposite. They know how to stop. They know how to look straight ahead. They know how to let their words stand still instead of shoving them forward with 20 more sentences. A short sentence followed by silence is often more powerful than a long argument. Because it shows that you are not panicking. You are not dancing to the pressure of someone else's rhythm. You do not need to fill every space just to save your image. Manipulators hate that kind of calm. Because they survive on reaction. And when you do not explode, they lose their grip. 6. A truly strong person does not rush to defend themselves. One of the clearest signs of low inner strength is becoming defensive the moment something touches you. The other person has barely started, and already you are scrambling. That is not what happened. Let me explain. You have misunderstood. That is not what I meant. What is the problem? The problem is that defending yourself too early usually puts you in the weaker position. It tells the other person they have already touched the place where you lose your balance. A strong person does it differently. They absorb first. They listen fully. They let the other person release all their energy. And only then do they respond with a few very concise lines. Sometimes all that is needed is, "I heard you. That is your perspective. I do not agree." They do not rush to prove their innocence before every gaze. Because they understand, their value is not decided by one moment of someone else's judgment. 7. The highest form of power is to speak clearly, speak briefly, and then stop. Finally, this is the principle you need to carry with you. Say the conclusion first. Give very little context. Then stop. Do not speak like this. Actually, I have been thinking a lot. And lately things have been a bit messy. So maybe perhaps this time I may not be able to join. Speak like this. I'm not joining. If one more sentence is needed. I've made a different choice. That is all. That is how a person speaks when they own their life. No going around in circles to earn acceptance. No adding extra softness because they are afraid the listener may not be happy. No burying their position under a pile of explanations. Others may call that cold. People who understand life will know that it is clarity. And in a world full of people who speak only to avoid discomfort, clarity is always a rare form of power. If you have 4 or more of the following signs, you are stuck in the habit of over-explaining and weakening your own position. You say, "No," and immediately feel the need to tell a long story. You often send extra messages just to clarify, even when nobody asked further. You are afraid of disappointing people, so you soften and then change your decision. When someone misunderstands you, you feel restless until you correct it. You succeed, but then downplay yourself so others do not feel uncomfortable. You dislike silence in conversation, so you keep speaking just to fill it. You prepare reasons even before making your decision. If that is true, the issue is not that you talk too much. The issue is that you do not yet fully believe you have the right to live without needing the whole world's approval. Start with these 5 steps. They are simple, but very powerful. Step 1. Practice pausing for 3 seconds before answering a difficult question. Do not react immediately. That short pause helps you answer from steadiness, not from panic. Step 2. Say the conclusion first. The context after. I'm not going. I do not agree. I stop here. Do not let your position drown in the introduction. Step 3. Give only one reason when it is truly needed. The first reason is clarity. The second begins to smell like seeking approval. From the third onwards, you are devaluing yourself. Step 4. Stop trying to fix other people's emotions. If they are disappointed, let them be disappointed for a while. You are not everyone's emotional service staff. Step 5. Practice on small decisions every day. Order what you want without explaining. Leave when you want to leave without creating an escape story. Refuse what does not fit without attaching a speech. Those small actions will rebuild your mental backbone. After hearing all this, which line hit you the hardest? I do not owe anyone a defense statement. Not everyone who asks deserves an explanation. I do not live to avoid being misunderstood. I can tolerate other people's disappointment. Silence at the right moment is power. I do not defend myself in panic. I speak clearly, briefly, and then stop. Comment your number below. Like and subscribe if you are entering a phase of life where you ask for less permission. Explain yourself less, and become stronger in a way that does not need noise. Because from now on, your life is no longer something to be put on trial before the crowd.